Hi, this is Jackie.
This is Diana.
Welcome to Home Bodies Only, where we welcome all bodies. Tonight we are breaking down Scenes from a Marriage, Scene 3, The Vale of Tears. But before we get started on that, as you know, we are new podcasters, right? And this is a new podcast. So we want to support our fellow new podcasters. So I wanted to tell you about another new podcast hosted also by two women, supporting women. It is called Intentional as a Mother. And I'm going to read the description to you guys. It says, we give women the tools and support they need to understand who they are, what they want, and how they can change their lives. Featuring weekly discussions about identifying the barriers in our lives which cause us to feel unfulfilled and pushing past those barriers to live in gratitude and authenticity. This is the perfect show for a woman or mom who is struggling in the good enough phase of living but want more and are ready to begin their growth journey. Each episode is going to be released on Monday mornings, and it features Megan Robertson and Christy Butler. They say, join us as we discover together just who we want to be when we grow up. I highly recommend it because I have actually had the privilege of listening to the episodes so far. And they are also on Instagram at intentional.as.a.mother. So if you want to look for them, it's great to support other women, and it's a great podcast.
Absolutely. Okay. Can't wait to check it out.
Yeah. All right. So, Scene 3, The Vale of Tears. All right, so starts off on a soundstage again, right? But this time we're not with either of the characters. We just kind of feel like we're alone.
Pretty alone in this.
Through the sounds. We're behind a camera. Actually, we're behind a camera. That's how it starts off.
Looking through a window.
About that. Yep. Yes, it comes to the window, and you see Oscar, aka Jonathan, and he's like, looks like he's getting ready to go. And he has a burnt orange-ish, or it's almost, I hate to use this, but it really is a little bit of a diarrhea colored.
Well, just keeping it real over here.
Sweater. I don't know. Shirt. Maybe black jeans or black pants. I'm not sure. He's straightening up. Looks like he's maybe a little nervous. I don't know. He's straightening the house up. Okay. So then a car pulls up outside. It's clearly Mira. And right away, she's got a white trench on, which I just love.
Stunning.
And then you can see the red heels. And even though I do not own a pair, they're Louboutins.
Yeah,
whoa,
they're standing out.
Yeah, I think they're heels. I'm not sure exactly what they are. Beautiful.
They're a zipper boot.
Well, I know. Yes,
oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Listen.
No, spoiler. So
spoiler
I didn't know
alert.
At the time. Spoiler alert. They're zip up boots.
They're gorge.
Clearly, gorge, and her hair. So then we're behind.
Yes.
What?
I was going to say that. Can we talk about her, like when the light hits her and the hair?
Like, and her hair, it's like wavier. There's something different in the way she walks. He opens the door. I think he says, wow. And then we see her face. So first of all, she has makeup on and she touches her hair. She says, you don't like it? Now, I was trying to compare. So, because it's the same, I thought it was kind of the same color, but it was parted on the side. I think she got some layers.
It looked a little darker to me too. Like maybe there was like a richer tone to her hair.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely like fresh out of the salon looking.
Mm-hmm.
The makeup. First time we see her with makeup.
Yeah.
Nails. First time we see her with painted nails.
They are like dark too. Because she had pink. She had like a blush pink. She is also wearing hoop earrings, which I did make note in for the last episodes, but I really didn't mention it. She was always wearing studs, like very conservative earrings. Now she's wearing hoops, which I'm sure is super expensive. I thought underneath the trench. What? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just was going to say, would you see the progression of her, of her character, really? This conservative, button down, all button up, however you guys prefer.
Yeah.
Into the like metamorphosizing, if you will.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Like vixen-y almost.
Yes.
And I thought she was wearing like a black, so it looked like a black turtleneck underneath. I thought it was a black sweater dress. Later, I find out it's not black sweater dress.
Right.
It's not. It's even sexier than that. So they embrace. You can still tell there's a lot of chemistry between them. They hug, kiss on the cheek, but then they almost kiss on the lips. Then they put their heads together. And you can see like the feelings between them, and she smiles. You know, he has her come in. She's kind of like making small talk, asking about bedtime. She's looking up the stairs, how Ava, how bedtime went. And then she turns and looks in the living room.
Yeah.
You got a new living room? And
It's
like, yeah, the armchair. Yeah, he's like, the armchairs were uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable to watch TV. She's like, you never complained before? He's like, I never really had time to watch TV. So I was like, he's having obviously more time at home. I was, again, my mind is going thinking, oh, maybe like Ava's in school now. And so he's home. But I wasn't sure. So, oh boy. So then she's like, the rug. And she's like, it's ugly. And I just didn't expect that. And she says it's really, really ugly.
Poor guy's like, just trying to decorate a little bit, make it his own.
She's all snazzed up in her sexy outfit, and he's trying to he's trying to be a sexy living room. I'm not sure. Apparently he failed. And she's like, where's this couch from? Ikea? It's hideous. Why didn't you call me to help? And he's like, I just went and did it. So I thought that was also telling, like, look, I don't need you. And she's trying to still get in there. And then he did it. Then he jumps in and says, when did she do all this with her hair? And she says, like, a week ago. She thought Ava would have told him. Then I thought this was interesting because he says she's the most discreet 5-year-old.
Yeah. And
then something about how much she holds things in. And I was like, oh, poor thing.
I know.
And when the show started, she was 4. So now she's 5. So clearly time has passed. She wanted to know how pickup went after school because she said drop off was tough. She said Ava said her stomach hurt and she was crying. Then he wanted to know, well, who dropped her off? I think because Polly drops her off sometimes. And you're like, okay. So he's still in the picture. And she says sometimes it goes better with him dropping her off. Yeah. So obviously we know she's still in that relationship. And I also thought I was trying to get understand the dining room because the table looked very small when I was thinking when they had their dinner party. It just looked different. And I was like, is that the actual same dining room or not? I don't know. But she notices on the table, I think because it's the challah bread.
Yes.
That she's like, oh. And basically it signifies that he had Shabbat dinner because it must be a Friday night. Again, I don't know a lot about that, but I do know that it's Friday nights. It's called Shabbat. And
yeah, he mentioned that his parents came over and then he said it was good for Ava or that he thought it was good for her to
really
have some sort of structure.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And clearly Mira, I think, is bothered by it. He even asks her, does that bother you? And she says, no. And then she's like, I don't know. And she said, it's been 10 years since he's done this. And he said that she never liked it. And she says, you liked that I didn't like it.
Right.
So she's being a little bit like feisty, I feel like, with him. But he says that, it does give Ava, like you said, a sense of structure and belonging. And then they decide to have wine. This episode especially makes me want to drink the entire time. Just want to say that.
Yeah.
Because they just kept pouring the wine. They toast and he says L'chaim and she's like gives him a look and says cheers. And he says, look in the eyes. Then they embrace. And that's when I really saw the red nail polish.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah. Okay. So then she wants to talk. That's why she came over, because she wanted to talk.
They clearly had this time set aside to have some sort of formal discussion about things.
Mm-hmm. So she tells him she got a promotion, but then it keeps going. He's like, oh, great. And then, and
here we go again.
Yeah. There's always something here.
Yeah.
So basically she would oversee the European division, which would mean she would have to live in London because they loved what she did in Tel Aviv, and it's a lot more money. And, you know, Jonathan clearly is not.
He's definitely not a fan of the money thing. He doesn't really.
No, he doesn't. No, yeah.
Give.
He doesn't care about that.
But you know what about that?
Yeah.
You know.
And he's like, well, yeah. And she's like, well, I just wanted to talk through some ideas, some strategies. I needed to talk to you, right? She told Ackerman, her boss, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. How about, let's talk about that. She's like, yeah, I want to talk to you about it. She already had it in her mind, right?
Oh,
I mean, clearly there was no like back and forth, like pros and cons. It was, I'm going to go do this and you're going to like follow me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So she said she needs to talk to him first. And he's like, what do you want to take her with you? Ava with you? And she was like, I don't know, maybe. And then he's like, that's not an option. You can forget about that. And then he's like, unreal. You know, he like says under his breath. And she's like, well, I want to talk this over, you know, with you together. She's trying to calm him down. She puts her hand on his hand. It says it's a huge deal and a lot of money. Again, a lot of money. She's like, I said, I didn't say this what I wanted to do. I just wanted to talk this over together. So basically they're going back and forth, and he is obviously peed off. And she says something like she didn't have a concrete solution. And he said, yeah, because there is no concrete solution. And why did you even bring this up? Just to see how I react. And then she's like, oh, maybe it's a mistake coming here. Can they be in the same room without hurting each other? And then that's when he's like, what are you not telling me?
Exactly.
I know you would bring this all up. If you wouldn't bring this all up if you didn't have a plan. What do you want? So then she mentions that Jonathan and Ava could move to London with her, basically.
Yeah, just get an apartment down the street. No big deal.
Yeah.
Just pick up your life.
He's on
and our
sabbatical.
daughter's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just work in London.
So we do figure out, well, we find out that he went on sabbatical, and then I'm like, oh, that's why he can watch TV. Sorry. That's
exactly.
I'm like, okay, you can watch more TV. She's like, he can do his writing from there, and there's libraries in Oxford, and, you know, makes it sound exciting. And that Ava, first she says,
for hair.
Yeah, and aren't you dying to get out of this country? And you're always saying this country is poisoning you, and be a great opportunity for Ava. You can't deny that. And he starts to smirk, and he's like, can't believe she's saying this. And she's like, tells him to think about it. Don't rule it out. He's like, what? We're just suitcases. We would pack up and follow you wherever you go. And he's like, Ava just got used to the whole situation of what they're in now, like going back and forth between two houses. And that Ava has a whole life here, and the grandparents are here, and a family and a community. And Mira's like, community. And she doesn't seem to like that word. I don't know why not, but, and then he's like, you guys live in a global village. And she says sarcastically, I'm sorry, you guys. He's like, yeah, you guys. And he gets up. Then he starts to be frantically searching for something. Right. And so, I mean, searching, right? And
yeah. I thought he was looking for the inhaler.
So did she.
But it wasn't.
I didn't know what he was doing because I didn't know what he was doing. I noticed the lit candles earlier, and then the match, there was actually a box of matches next to it. And then also the inhaler had been up there. And he starts to go through they have a lot of drawers. And he's going through all these drawers.
Here we are. All these drawers. But yeah, everything's left on the counter, but we got all these drawers with stuff in it.
It was so bad. Yeah.
He's got all this time. How about some cleaning?
All right. You're on sabbatical.
Organization. Get some labels.
So he's digging through the drawers. She brings him his inhaler, thinking, "Oh yeah, this is it. Like
saving
Diana
the day
too." But he still continues to look, and then he brings up the divorce. He's like, "We really should talk about divorce."
Yeah, and, keeping it real.
Like, oh, why? Why are you thinking about getting remarried again? Remarried? And he says, "No, this is a state of purgatory, and it's not healthy for anyone. It's a temporary state, this in-betweenness, that, that sparks her to ask if he's seeing someone. And he's like, leave me alone. And then she's like, why can't you tell me about anything? And he's like, because I don't want to. So then he lights a cigarette. So apparently he was looking for a cigarette.
Yeah.
Right? And he has asthma, as we know.
Yeah. He doesn't look like a smoker to me.
No.
But the man is stressed out.
Yeah. I mean, do whatever you want, dude. So she gets mad and she's like, you decided to kill yourself when you start smoking again, and she's not going to be here to take him to the ER.
Yeah.
And if he has another asthma attack, and he says he hasn't had one and he can't even remember the last time he had one, which was probably with her.
Right.
Maybe. So then she starts to walk to the front door. I don't know if she thinks like she's going to leave.
Yeah.
And she stops. And I had to actually like watch this again because I was like, wait, what just happened? I don't know if that happened to you.
Yeah.
But she hears that rain app.
Yes.
And she looks to the left, and it's what used to be.
It was that sitting room, right? Or was it the study?
It a den, but he called it his office, I guess. And they're like these sliding doors.
Yeah.
And I'm actually acting them out right now, so Diana understands. No one else can see me.
Yep. Thanks for the visual.
You're welcome. So she opens them up. Then there's these like thick curtains.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, we got the doors, the curtains. It's a whole vibe.
The curtains.
It's like indoor camping. Like glamping. I know. I was like, wow, so dramatic with the curtains.
I know. It's kind of creepy. And there's Ava. Her bed's there. Her lit up rabbit. I think it's like a lit up rabbit.
Yeah.
And the rain app going. And
I think they have a bookshelf in between. And
then she walks around. And there's a bed there.
Yeah.
I was like very like, what's going on? Like I honestly had to go backward, and because I looked down, I think I was writing and looked back up. So, let me just look at this. Yeah. Oh, we got a glimpse of the Louboutins because she was back.
Yeah.
She was closing the doors. We got the boots. Yeah, it looked good. She starts to go up the stairs, and she sits down. Mira, and then she sits down, and she's like, I don't know anything about that. And she asks what's wrong with the bedrooms.
Yeah, he's basically like, this house is too big for us.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty sad because
it's so sad.
Let's put ourselves in his shoes for a second, right? Like, would you want to be upstairs?
No.
And like, so yeah, they like made a little apartment down there. And she, the daughter, honestly, probably realistically in this sort of situation had some regression with sleeping.
Right.
The back and forth. And it just felt more secure, if you will.
Yeah.
Being down on one level.
Yep. And he did say she had trouble sleeping. She would come into his bed. And then, like, he would get up and go downstairs to do work, and she would follow him. He said just like evolved into it. But, yeah, it's totally a security thing. So then she wants to see upstairs.
Yeah.
And so sad.
That was sad to see. It was like they were, like, abandoning. Like,
sorry, before she goes upstairs, I forgot about this part. She asks about his privacy. And he says, well, we have a bookshelf in between us. And she said, no, well, what if you have someone over? It doesn't wake her up. And he says, I don't have anyone over when Ava's here.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So, like, take that.
Yeah. That's right. So she goes upstairs and looks in Ava's room, and it looks like they've moved. Like, they're in the midst of it. There's a box that says toys. But what I really liked, I'm sure you saw this, there was marks on the wall.
Yeah.
From, like, where the bed had been.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was very realistic.
Yeah.
Because they need a paint job. Then she goes into their old bedroom and looks again like they're moved. I mean, it's a mess. Diana, you must have been dying.
Yeah, it was
like there was a mattress leaning. It was really bad. So she's looking around, and he says, is there anything that you want? Because he has like packed up china from her grandparents, I think, or something.
Yeah, and she's like, I'll send somebody to get it.
Send someone to get it.
I'll just send somebody. I'll send a car to get it.
Yes, and then she says she has to get going. Yeah. Then he offers her more wine, and she says, okay.
At this point, we're at like bottle 3, even though they're still in the same bottle. It's like never ending.
I know.
Wine
Never ending
glasses.
wine.
Pretty sure I drank
Yeah.
wine during this because I just couldn't help myself.
Yes. Very
nice glass of red wine, Anna.
Yes. Well, also I noticed she just never takes her coat off, which was driving me nuts a little bit, but
yeah.
Well, now she's leaving. So I did like some of the things she said here. She said, I think she sits down and she says, soon there won't be any trace of me here when she drinks the wine. And I was like, okay, that's why she got like really, was like, this rug is ugly, and like got very upset about him changing the furniture. And she's like, it's fine. It's totally fine. Silly attachment to furniture, a myth of a home, which I thought was interesting. And she said, dependence on these things, that's what keeps like effing everything up. And that's what effed everything up for us. She says his dependence on objects. And he says, the objects, never had any real significance for me. And she said, come on, their whole relationship became an object. The house, the family. I was like, how is the family an object? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more like you get married and when are you going to have the kids, right? We're going to have a family, right? Because here we are. We got this house. We got these jobs. We're married. We're going to have a family, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you just go through the steps, right? It's the perception of, or, this is what you do. You get married, you have to get, right?
And you have kids. Yeah, that's very true. Okay. Then, so he wants to know if it's different now and she's not attached to any stuff in her new place. And she's like, oh, I'm in a luxury condo in the Millennium Tower. I don't know. It's supposed to sound
Where's the Millennium Tower in Boston?
But I thought, is she in New York? Because she talks about the view of the park. She says a 20th floor and a doorman. And to me, that sounds like the city.
Yeah.
New York City and Central Park. So, and she had said back about Polly coming, and he was relocating to New York. But she was driving in a car. I don't know. I don't know.
She also took a train across from the West Coast, apparently. So, I mean, we're just really... I might have missed that. But
I used to go to Boston a lot for work, and there was I used to stay in a hotel by the Charles River. I'm like, is there a park? There's probably a park. Somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, and you have like Copley Place, or I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I
don't know that one, so
yeah, like
I don't know.
Isn't there like a market like down?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not the Boston market food. I mean, it's not good, but there's like this like famous market.
Oh, there is. There's a market. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it'll come to me later. It's a whole thing.
Chowder.
There's like cheesecake within a cake. Okay, we're getting off topic here.
Okay. All right. So she said she reached a point in her life that it doesn't matter where she lives because this is very interesting.
Yes.
There's no place that would make her feel secure.
Isn't that something?
That's sad.
That's very sad.
Right? And then how you mentioned how they're all on one floor, he and Ava, because they probably feel secure that way. So they probably, in a way, feel more secure than she does. And he says he's sorry. And she says, don't be. She's not sorry. It's a relief. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that security / safety we thought there was. We thought, she's like basically saying it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We thought there was, and that's what we wanted, but then it turned into a ritual. That's what she had said.
Yeah.
So heavy. And he says, I know you had this need to diminish everything that we have, which, yeah, that's what she's doing. She's just being like, meh, poo-pooing everything.
Like it was like nothing, so to speak, right? So that she can
justify
her actions, forget about it, and I don't.
Yeah. She says, no, she's not. She's trying to tell him that for her, there was so much denial. She says that basically she's alone. It doesn't matter if she's with someone or not. She's alone. She says it's really a sign of strength, and she's made peace with that. And she's like, don't look so worried. And then she says, what? And she looks annoyed. So then he compares her to when they were in college and when she was with, I thought he said Lucas. I don't know if it was Luke or Lucas, maybe the rock star guy.
The rocker. Yeah.
they would break up, and she would say how good it felt because to be alone. But then she'd go back to him because obviously she didn't want to be alone. And she giggles. Oh, he says it was like a defense mechanism, and then she giggles, and she gets PO'd about his psychological BS, and she says, "What are you dating, a shrink?" And then he says, "Well, no, he's going to one, not a shrink, I guess technically, but a therapist." Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah, and this was probably actually, I think, my favorite part in a way. So he says that it helps him, and she's like, well, she asks him how it helps him or what it helps him with. And he says to make sense of everything and to understand what happened. Now, this part, I don't know if I have it right. So one thing that she told him to do was to write, I thought it was 3 pages every morning. 3 pages to me is a lot, but I don't know.
That's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot of writing.
Yeah. So, but I know it's something about in the morning, and she yawns, which is like, okay, thanks. And then she says she hasn't been sleeping, and Ackerman's been putting the pressure on her about London. So then
you love like, how she twisted back to herself, right? Oh, and Ackerman,
it's always about Ackerman.
I'd love to. When are we going to meet Ackerman?
Yeah,
let's talk about that.
I don't think we are.
I'd love to meet Ackerman at a round table
with some Coke. I don't know.
Oh, drinking. Yeah, right. Forgot about that. Oh, it like I was getting so aggravated at the fact that she almost like pretended like she cared, asked him the question, right? And then he tried to truthfully explain or maybe open up a little bit. And she was like, okay, back to me. Yeah. And we're back. Like,
I also, let's go back to me. I also felt like she was asking him not because she cared, but more because like, oh, you're talking about me, I bet. Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was just being self-centered in a way.
Yeah.
So
clearly she sees a therapist as somebody who can help her. Or in the previous episodes, right? She was like, "Oh, we'll go to couples therapy and so we can work on detachment or whatever." She's right. So she doesn't see it as like a growth process, right? Like a process of growing, or right. So she's seeing it more of like we're going to just do this to check off the boxes and help with like getting us, done.
But she almost, I wonder, was she almost like jealous? Like, he's actually trying to care for himself and he's not pining over me. I don't know. That's kind of what I thought too.
Yeah. Like he's not sitting here like incredibly depressed and just can't, he redecorate. Oh, how dare you do all this? Like you can survive without me.
Right.
What?
Right. Yep. That's what I felt like too. So then he's like, he gets up and says, "Oh, are you okay to drive? Do you want me to make you some coffee?" And she's like, "Please don't make a big deal about this." And she says she wants to hear about it. And then she wants him to read her the morning pages. She called it something else, the morning papers. And he's like, pages. He's like, "I'm not supposed to have anybody else look at it." That's what I was thinking. I was like, listen, girl.
It's like his diary. Come on.
I know. God.
Didn't you have a diary? Like, where did you grow up? Come on. We all had the diary with the key that didn't really work.
Right. But she wants to hear because I'm sure she knows it's about her too.
Yeah, and
so he says he's not supposed to have anybody look at it, and she's like, "Please read it to me." And he said, "Why is it so important to you?" And she says, "Because he's important to her."
Yeah.
Okay.
The wine is kicking in, huh? No.
Yeah. She said she could just. She's like, "I'll just go get it." Like she knows where it is.
You're gonna. Okay, listen. Where are you?
Do you know where it is?
Thing?
Because the bedroom.
I can't find where your sugar packets are in the kitchen, let alone a diary. Okay.
Yeah. Where do you think that is? Under his beard. I don't know.
Come on. The drawers where the cigarettes were.
Yeah. So she looks. Okay. So they come back. Okay. Oh, I just have to mention. He says, "Okay, fine." And then I noticed the background, and the counters are super cluttered. I think there's like Ritz crackers also. I mean, it was bad. I didn't freeze frame it. Worse than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, you're home.
So
clean it up. Put it away.
Yeah. Oh my God. So then they're in that living room and she snuggles up. She has this like deep, like forest green blanket over her. And I'm thinking she finally took her coat off and she wrapped herself in the blanket. But this is of course, like complements her hair and her eye. I mean, skin tone perfectly. It's honestly, it's like she should just wear the blanket. She looks beautiful.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So she snuggles up, you know, and I think actually she might be on the couch. I don't know. And he sits on a chair next to her to read to her. And he does tell her that it's written in the third person. Now I was like, I can't like write everything he said, but he talks about, it is like
such a beautiful,
heartbreaking. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's beautifully written though.
This was
really is.
Like I said, this is like my favorite part. So he talks about the father, you know, being strict, and it was like a shadow over him and judgmental. And Jonathan himself tried so hard to please his father and to love the standards, but he felt like he failed. And he always had a permanent feeling that he's not good enough. He's not moral enough. He's too egocentric, which in the world he grew up in is the worst possible sin. And his mother was too weak to stand up to his father. Mm-hmm. And he does go into more things. He does talk about anxiety and anxieties. And he said he always felt like he was never fully present until Mira showed up, and that she saved him by seeing him for the first time. He thought she could pull him out of this inherent loneliness. And that after she left, that he realized how even with her, he was there, not there, and how hard it must have been to live with this. So he feels obviously that he did this, made her leave, really.
You're like, how could you not cry during his reading?
I know. Oh my God.
It was hard. I was holding back the tears for sure.
Yeah.
On this, it was very...
Yeah, it was
very real.
Yeah. And he says that how could that not make her feel lonely and unseen, helped him to make sense of her leaving. So she starts to cry. Yep. And you don't see her, you see her tear, and then you don't see her and you see him, and he kind of like, you could tell he's looking at her, and then he stops reading, closes the book. And by the way, she still has her freaking coat on. Okay. That's all I have to say. She still has the coat on under the blanket. So she comes over to him, she kisses him. It's very emotional. They go to the ground. And then I realized, no, she's not wearing a sweater dress. No. She is wearing a very sexy top that has an open back. She has no bra on and a skirt. And I tried to, the coat is by Theory. It's called Theory Oak Lane.
It was so beautiful.
Link for you or anything because I don't get paid for it, but I'm saying it's on Amazon.
It was great.
FYI, it's like $400. I could not find the top and the skirt. The boots, I'm not even Googling those boots. That's
they get in the cookie settings. All kinds of spam.
So so they're making out, and honestly, it's like a beautiful shot again of like her back and the shirt, and it's very passionate. It's very passionate.
May I say passionate?
Which she had said, passion. There's some passion there.
It was passionate.
It was definitely passion. And
there was a lot of passion.
Jonathan stops and says, "This is not good.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this, but I want to sleep with you. It's not good for him. It took him a really long time to get where he is right now. He doesn't want to go back to that torment." He says, "I don't think you really know what it was like for me a year ago." And she's like, "I want to know. Tell me." I feel like she's so self-centered. I don't know. I didn't feel it like, oh, she's so caring. I feel like she was just like, tell me what it was like. Almost like she likes it, like to hear about how much he was how much he was hurting. So he said he was on autopilot, losing his mind. He thought there was, I don't know what I was doing here with my notes because it doesn't make any sense. Thought there was a mouse. Okay, no,
there was definitely not a mouse.
I don't know what I'm talking about. But he didn't want to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, he said he didn't want her to be alive.
Yeah, he wished.
And then, he said he wished Ava would also not be alive because it would be the ultimate revenge. Oh, felt so bad. And then, like very soon after that, Ava got this cough that was really, really bad. She threw up because the coughing was so bad, and she got a fever of 104. He put her in the bathtub. He thought he killed her. He was scared to death.
Yeah.
So took 3 days for these antibiotics to kick in. And it was actually the best thing he said that could happen to him because he was very distracted. And that by the time, I guess, Mira came for the weekend, the fever was gone. And then he was alone. And that's when he started to heal. And I thought this was so good, to be honest, about all types of grief, how he would be able to go a few minutes without thinking about her.
Yeah.
Then it was a few hours.
Yeah.
And he could go a half a day, then sometimes a whole day, especially when Ava was there. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, that was just so true. Yeah. And it's grief. It's fully grief, because divorce or splitting up from someone can be like a death, right?
Right.
And that's when he says, he's like, I'm not going back to that, because if they sleep together, it'll be amazing. And then he's going to go back to the bottom. And then she's like, what makes you think it was any different for me? I don't know. And then,
here we go. I was like, okay.
I don't know. I got so annoyed. And I want to be, I want to support other women, but
her character, like, she's really starting to, like, your side, you tend to start to side with him, just given, the situation. And, when she brings it back to her, like, how do you, and I was just like,
I know. She says, please don't, what's the part? So, you think it was any different for me? It was a nightmare for her too. And she couldn't stop thinking about him, not even for a second. He says, please don't do that. Don't say things you don't mean just to prove we're in the same boat, because we're not. And she says she missed him all the time. She never stopped loving him. Not for a second. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. And then.
But
she never stopped. Attracted. No, then.
But remember, I'm not attracted to you.
Okay. Yeah. Then she says, I never stopped loving you. Not for a second. Okay, fine. I never stopped wanting you. And then I wrote, excuse me, what about the passion comment?
Yeah, the passion. And then I'm not attracted to you. Remember when she snapped at him about that? I was just like,
And she said, And now she says she wants him now so bad. So they start kissing again.
Here we go.
God. He stops her. They sit up. She asks him if he wants her to go. He starts to get up.
More coffee.
She zips up those hot Louboutins. She's zipping them up. She starts to leave. They make some small talk about her picking up Ava. But then her hand's on the doorway, turns around. She turns around, to him, and asks if Polly wasn't coming. Would that change things for you?
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And she's like, would you consider coming with Ava? She means to London. Because Polly wasn't coming to... she says if Polly wasn't coming to London, would you come to London?
Like, would you come to London with Ava? Right.
Yeah. And he's like, what does Polly have to do with anything? She's like, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. She leaves. And she turns around and she comes running back to him and says she can't drive right now.
Yeah.
She hugs him and tells her to stay the night. He helps her undo that sexy shirt, right? They go into the bedroom. He wants her to sleep in the bedroom, which again, I was like, you're sleeping in the same bed. Okay.
All right. We're doing that.
Yeah. He gives her a shirt to sleep in and they are wearing the same shirt.
They're wearing the same shirt, but first of all, her shirt was longer than his shirt. I just noticed, I was like, most people would notice this. He had a hole, what appeared to be a hole on the top of his shirt that he was wearing. Her shirt was like a tunic. Perfect. Okay. And apparently, like, he's not wearing tunics. Okay. But he was like, I have an extra shirt. Okay. I wear a tunic. Yeah. She had like the white men's shirt that was actually a tunic. Come on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Perfectly. Yeah.
Oh, of course. It was gorgeous. Once again, throw a belt around it. Put the Louboutins. Call it a date night. I don't know. We're not brushing our teeth. You smoked a cigarette and had wine and you were making out. Like, can we talk about that?
She has a ton of makeup on, not taking it off. Not worried about the wrinkles.
No,
I'm sure there's a product somewhere in that house because they had a lot of products.
So many products. Like, how are you not going to wake up with zits everywhere?
I am disappointed there was not a toothbrushing scene.
I know.
I just wanted to, I just have to tell you, this has nothing to do with, I have to tell you, Diana, that my electric toothbrush, the battery died.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe that's what happened in the first episode. His battery died. He didn't get to change it, and that's why he did not use the electronic option.
Yeah. And he probably has bleeding gums, honestly, with the vigorous, brushing of the teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're laying in the bed, right? And then of course I'm like, well, we're not going to like do this with our child next to us, right? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Just going to hold each other? We're going to like pillow talk? Like, what are we doing?
I have to tell you. So he strokes her face. He's still wearing his watch as well.
I know.
I don't know why that bothered me. I can't sleep with jewelry on.
I think he slipped his glasses off because I didn't see them, but I didn't see him take them off. And I feel like they're the kinds that hook around the back of the ear.
It's the palm. Yeah.
As I'm showing you.
Yes.
How you hook. Yeah.
Everyone, she is demonstrating where they would hook.
Yeah, they like hook on the back. Oh boy.
Yeah. So then he strokes her face and he gets a text.
And another text.
Yeah, and another text. And she says, "Is that your girlfriend?"
Oh.
And they're being she's being
like
kind of
they're in like a
sassy.
college dorm.
Yeah. And then he says, "I wouldn't go that far."
Yeah.
And then she says, "Your lover," and she's like kidding around. And then his phone starts vibrating. So apparently she's calling him.
It's like, "It'll be a second. I'll be right back," or whatever.
Yeah, Mira does make some kind of comment about her calling, and he gets
she doesn't give up easily or something like that.
Yeah. So he gets up, and you can actually hear the woman on the other end.
You can. I had to turn it up, but you could hear it.
Yeah. And he tells her that it's not cool to bombard her with phone calls, and he's completely honest with her. And he says that I told you. I don't know if he said I told you I would call you when she's gone, and she's still here. She's in my bed. It's like, oh my God. So then he breaks up with this woman. He's like, I want to take a break. It's not working out for me right now. So Mira gets up. I thought she was carrying her clothes, but maybe not. I thought she walked by with her clothes, and I was like, she's going to leave again?
Yeah, I thought it was the clothes too. Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes into the kitchen. By the way, did you see the Hungry Hippo game sitting on the counter? Oh, yeah, on the island. There was a hungry.
Stop it. I did not see that. Yes. Of course there was.
Yeah, hungry hippo sitting on the counter. On the island, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's where I'm telling you.
Yeah. So then he goes in there, and she said she overheard them, and he said he wasn't trying so hard for her not to hear him. He asked if that upset her, and she said, no, of course not. And she's like, why did you tell her that I was in the bed with you? And he says he didn't feel like he needed to hide it. And she said, you had plans with her that night and knew that this was going to upset her. And he says he's sorry that happened, and can they forget about it?
Yeah.
And she says it's a shame. Like she's encouraging him, right? Like, oh my God, you should date her, duh. And so she says, it's a shame. It sounded pretty serious, right? And he says it's not really relevant anymore. And she said, it's not unforgivable. I'm sure she'd understand. And then this pisses him off. Sorry. So he starts pacing. And then he says, I like this part too, because he says, you haven't lost your talent for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. And she felt sad for him or something. And he starts smoking again. And what did she say? Oh, she says it's about him not giving up on something. And he says, enough. Now, this is a complete side note. When he's in the doorway smoking, I see a mezuzah in the doorway. So this is I'm not Jewish, but I do know about that mezuzah, and I'll tell you why. It's from Sex and the City, when Charlotte is going to convert to become Jewish, and that's how I really learned about the mezuzah. So it is. I don't know if it's always metal, but in this one, I think it looks like it's metal, and you hang it in your doorway. And I had to look it up. So it's customary that you touch them every time you pass through a door, then you kiss the fingers that touched it, or sometimes you're supposed to like kiss it, and it's supposed to act as a reminder of God's presence. So just right. Like that. So that was interesting. So it's Shabbat, and then the mezuzah was there. Thought that was interesting.
Because he had left his religion, and now he's in
for her. Yeah,
correct.
Mm-hmm. And now he's kind of some of it's he's incorporating it back in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He says he's not buying her ode to solitude, and he thinks that it's BS. he doesn't believe that she believes it either, and it's a weakness, not a strength. He says she's chaos and detachment. And he just goes back to when they got together, how that like they pulled each other out of the loneliness that she's been talking about. And it was like how she was before they moved in together. And
yeah, again, like what they've been through.
Yeah.
And then you want to just kind of, well, you just want to throw this away.
Yeah.
So we've pulled each other out of, right? Like they've grown together, I think is his point. And we've been through some really hard things.
He calls it a miracle. He said it's I'm just like, oh, he's like, it's the biggest miracle of their lives.
I know.
And they're just throwing it all away. And it's a terrible mistake. And you got to save it and not give up. And then she says she can't, she doesn't know how to, and she's nauseous. She said that she's basically messed up. She said she's messed up. Effed up,
at least
right?
she's being honest.
Yeah.
I suppose, like with her own.
Yeah.
Conflict.
And then he wants to play her a voicemail.
Ugh. Yeah. And I was just like, okay.
When he first said he wants to play her something, I'm like,
yeah, I was thinking a song.
A song? I know.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Are you going to like bust out a guitar right now?
Yeah.
Are you serenading her? Like, what's going on? But then, whatever. Yeah. Here we go. We get to hear a nice voicemail.
We get to hear Polly's voice.
Polly.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
You got to look up who plays Polly's voice. I did not look that up. So he, maybe you can summarize his voicemail better, but
Polly was basically like, man, if you want to get back with Mira, go for it, because I'm not doing this. Like
I can't be in this situation.
I'm not going to like be around for this show. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah,
what it was about. Like
he sounds like he's breaking up with her through Jonathan. That's what.
And then he's kind of like, and she already's probably told you, so she's come to the house having this information that she's basically breaking up with Polly. Yeah, Polly
broke up with her, really. I don't know.
But yet she's like, oh, we're going to London. It's this whole, like, what were you, like, were you just feeling it out? Like, you trying on some clothes here so that if it doesn't work out, you're going to beg Polly. Like, so I was, I was just kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, no, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was just like, yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, it was, like 29 years old. Like, I ain't got time for this.
Right. He's probably like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah. What was I thinking?
But what's interesting is that Jonathan knew all this.
Mm-hmm. When she came over. No, you're right.
Yeah. And I don't know. Didn't seem
And then
like
is this when Ava wakes up?
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. Yep. Ava wakes up. And honestly, the hair, it's killing me. Her hair is killing me. It looked like a wig. Just don't do this with her fake red hair. It did distract me. She is adorable. She wakes up, says she wants pancakes because Polly would make them for her. Because she's hungry,
Yeah, so basically, you're hungry in the middle of the night and Polly's busting out the pancakes.
Yeah. So again, it sounds like, I just thought of this, Diane.
Yeah.
That Polly is more of a caregiver than Mira is. Ooh, I hate to say that.
Like
when it sounds like Polly is very comforting.
Mm-hmm.
Polly, she's better with Polly when there's drop off. And that was interesting.
Yeah, you have to wonder then, underneath all of this, then what's going on internally for Mira about the whole motherhood thing and the role, or I'm
and
hoping.
Even just relationships in general, because it just seems like she can't
relationship
fully connect.
I mean, she's friends with Kate, so let's talk. This woman, it doesn't really. Good role. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
She needs a bestie, man, like a stable bestie.
Yes. So Jonathan goes in bed with Ava and says, "Do you want me to sing to you?" And now, so I'm. Oh my god, I know.
I'm already bawling at this point.
I know. I'm like, it's the cutest thing. So I'm listening to the words, and I'm like, "What is this song?" And certain things he said. I was like, something sounds like a part of another song. So I did Google the lyrics. I have never heard of this song because they do mention the Sandman in the song, but it's not the Sandman song. Like,
It's
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. It's not.
No.
It's called The Brakeman and Me. FYI. I have never heard this song in my life. But that's what it's called, The Brakeman and Me. I wanted to tell you, because that's basically the end of it. He's singing and they're showing like rooms in the house. That's how they end it. So the Vale of Tears, I looked up what that meant, and I thought this was very interesting. Excuse me. It does mean like it means obviously sorrow and a lot of tears, but it's a Christian phrase referring to the tribulations of life that Christian doctrine says are left behind only when one leaves the world and enters heaven. So I thought that was really interesting because I was saying how it's grieving, right? When a relationship is breaking up, it's like a death.
Yeah.
And he was left in the Vale of Tears after this, after she leaves him. So I thought it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I thought this was so good.
This was a good episode. It was, very emotional in a different way. And I'm very, I don't know if people that are listening, that do watch the show, like we're watching these one at a time. So we have no idea what's going to happen because we are not pre-watching beyond just one episode, then podcasting about it. So I cannot wait to see episode 4.
Yeah.
I'm very anxious to get that going. So
yeah.
That was a lot.
I know. We went over longer than we
so
normally
emotional,
do.
The scene.
So emotional.
But definitely some good fashion in here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The fashion was awesome.
Good fashion.
And just a really great episode. They are such good actors. Oh, my God. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Please tell us what you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, give us a shout via email and let us know your thoughts, feelings, your reactions to episode 3.
Yeah. And it's HomeBodiesOnly@gmail.com. I'm actually going to link it in the description, which I have not done yet. So I will do that. So, all right, everybody. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.